Hello and welcome to the MAC weather page for this Wednesday, September 27th. And on the headlines again, the heat wave is over. Today we'll see much cooler conditions with highs in the upper 60s across the far northwestern varying areas into the upper 70s as you get into extreme southeast lower Michigan. And then I think we'll see temperatures mainly in the 60s, possibly even in the upper 50s on Friday to low 60s. And then over the weekend, mainly 60s. We warm up a little bit as we get into early next week. Monday and Tuesday looks like we'll climb into the 70s. But then 80s return for Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday. So more heat and humidity will be on the increase later on next week. So still some more summer weather coming up. And unfortunately, so will the drought with very little moisture expected over the next 7 days. Maybe anywhere from around 1/10 to maybe 3/10 of an inch. That's a little bit higher than some of the earlier forecasts, but still, we could certainly use a whole lot more rain than that. But that would certainly increase some of the moisture in the soybeans, which have been running extremely dry, and we'll show you that in a minute. Temperatures out there this morning, mainly in the upper 60s. Cool spot in Owego at 63, and again, the warm spot at Henderson at 69, also at Brown City. And if we look at the recap of the heat wave that we had, all 6 days here in Breckenridge, all recorded record highs, and the 95.5, the 94.8, and the 93.6 yesterday all were the warmest temperatures ever for so late in the season. And you can see these replace some very, very old records dating all the way back to the late 1800s and early 1900s, beating these records pretty securely. And if we look at the overall MAC and LAC temperatures over the last 6 days, you can see many areas recording 90-degree temperatures all 6 days, and a lot of records fell, especially across areas, well, most of southern lower Michigan, the big cities, Flint, Saginaw, Lansing, over the Grand Rapids, Muskegon, all those reporting, many of them had 6 days in a row of record high temperatures, or at least in the 90s. So very, very warm out there, one like we've never seen before. We've never had 6 consecutive 90-degree days in the state that I'm aware of. There were some, a couple, 3 years, like 1931, I believe 1947, I'll have to check that. Those had 7 days where the temperatures were in the 90s, but not in consecutive order. So very, very historic heat wave that we just came through. And you can see now with the 90-degree days up to 10 in Breckenridge, 9 at Middleton, and 8 at Jasper, with 7 at Henderson and Lansing. So again, we made a pretty good rally here for September after having not that many 90-degree days during the summer. And the more serious problem is the moisture, or the lack of. You can see we're now down to 26.44% for the average across the MAC-LAC weather network area for moisture that we should have, and that's dragged us down to about 2/3 of the normal rainfall we would normally expect to have for this time of year. And if we look at the graphical format, you can see some very, very dry conditions, no precipitation officially recorded at Middleton, and only 7% of the normal September rainfall here in Breckenridge. So very dry across all the areas, with some extreme cases for sure. And if we look at, well, let me go back to that. I think I had a weather graphic I wanted to show you, and that's resulting in soybean moistures between 6.9 to 10%, a lot of 8% moisture soybeans so far this year, so pretty incredible. On the satellite view, you can see a lot of the activity off to our west, but now you'll notice more of a west to east progression rather than to the northeast. But unfortunately, as this system moves this way, it'll weaken because the main low pressure system will move off to our north. But again, we had a sprinkle at 6:13 here at Ransom Road. We did have some raindrops falling, but again, not even enough to wet the pavement. But I guess we can say we had a trace of rainfall in the area. On satellite, around the radar, you can see some of those really more in the way of developing once they get past, of course, mid-Michigan. And so hopefully some of the areas off to the east will pick up maybe a few hundredths, maybe 1/10 of an inch. See, Lansing had 4/100ths of an inch just as of a little while ago, and hopefully they'll add a little bit to that. The cold front this morning on the weather map is now off to the east. We'll have a north-northwest flow coming in, and that's going to bring cooler conditions again over the next 5 days before we begin to warm up as we get into early next week. You see on the weather map tomorrow, that front now well off to the east, and this is going to be our best hope for rain, would be tomorrow night into Friday morning. Could even see some thunderstorms. Again, not a very good chance, but we could pick up a couple of 1/10 of an inch of rain if this were to work out just right. Obviously, if you get a thunderstorm, you could get more, and we also want to watch areas around 131 to the west. There could be some lake enhancement with some of the rainfall here over the next few days. Could even be some water spouts over Lake Michigan. But again, that would be the best chance for rain, that and across the northern areas, where many areas could see between a quarter and a third of an inch once you get into northern and lower Michigan back into the UP. But again, for much of the MAC area, count yourself lucky if you can get 2/10 of an inch of rain out this year over the next few days. And as far as the weather map, as we get into Friday, that front will be through the area, maybe a scattered shower early, but I think we'll see clearing conditions as high pressure system moves down into the Great Lakes. Gives us a cool couple of mornings, Saturday morning, Sunday morning. Some of the interior sections of central or north central lower Michigan could see frost conditions, with many other areas getting into the upper 30s to the low 40s across the southern part of the state before we begin to warm up here late this weekend, but especially for next week. Again, precipitation over the next 72 hours, about 1/10 or 2 across mid-Michigan over into Thumb, and lesser amounts as you head to the south. And over the next 7 days, again, the most appreciable precipitation is going to be across the northern state, part of the state. And again, many areas in mid-Michigan could see up to 3/10 of an inch. And again, I would consider yourself very lucky if you can get that much. I'm not terribly optimistic about the rainfall here for the southern part of the state, but hopefully that will pan out. And as far as the extended outlook, above normal temperatures are expected in the long range. And as far as precipitation goes, near normal. But again, what we've seen in these longer range forecasting above normal precipitation is for a lot of that to hang further west than indicated on these maps. Hopefully that's not the case. Hopefully it'll actually shift to the east and give us more in the way of precipitation. But again, I wouldn't necessarily count on it. It's been that kind of a pattern. And as far as the forecast goes, you can see today, we'll call it upper 60s to low 70s. Could be in the upper 70s as you get down towards Blissfield, Jasper, around the Flint area to the south and east. And then we'll be in the low to mid 60s, maybe upper 60s for Thursday. In the upper 50s to low 60s on Friday. That should be the coolest day, leading to maybe some frosty conditions across some parts of the area as we get into Saturday morning. And again, we'll begin to warm up Sunday as temperatures will climb into the upper 60s, and then we'll be in the 70s as we get into next Monday and Tuesday. And again, the heat wave's over, but the drought continues. The new map actually will be released tomorrow, probably not in time for the morning video, so we'll have that on Friday, but I expect it to show worsening conditions across southern and central lower Michigan. And on to Weather Watch this morning, you can see all along the lake we have long fetch winds that will eventually be coming out of the north, and that's going to create some definitely some rip current hazards and some long current hazards across the area. So if you're out there swimming on the beach, could be some pretty substantial waves and maybe some rip currents as well. And that's all there is for Weather Watch. Thanks for stopping by and have yourself a great day, and 73s to all.